What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Peanut Gallery podcast. I got myself, I got Brian, I got Dylan. Hope you guys are enjoying the little series here. If you do, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and tell all your friends. We're going to jump right into it. So, last week we said we were going to talk about it again in this show. Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. Good old boxing match. Tommy Fury gets the win on decision after 8 rounds. Split decision, I believe. What do we think, boys? I thought it was a much better fight than I was anticipating it to be. That is for sure.
It was a good fight for the skill level. Like, they're not obviously the best boxers, but it was a very entertaining fight. I will say that. There's stuff that just like an average Joe like me. I was watching Tommy Fury just keep his hands like at his waist. It felt like the whole time, and I was like, oh my god, block your head. Like, I mean, it's just like a uneducated boxer. Like, I don't know that much about boxing, but I was like, don't you want to protect your head? Like, but it was a good fight. I enjoyed the fight overall.
It was a great fight. I honestly, like Drake said, I'm kind of to the point where I almost was thinking this was just gonna be like, like one or the other kind of a thing. But they were pretty evenly matched the entire way through. And I gotta say, my prediction was way wrong since
Dude,
it went to split decision.
I should have went with Dylan because he said it was Tommy on decision, and I was saying it was either going to be that or Jake Paul early knockout. Which I mean,
said
that's
Jake Paul early.
Yeah, that's kind of how it looked like from my vantage point. I'm just like Dylan. I don't know the first thing about boxing. I just watch and enjoy it, but it seemed like it was one of those where Jake came out strong, and then after the first couple rounds, just kind of didn't know what to do. He almost looked scared, but like maybe it was just because he was tired or just like inexperienced, because you could tell Tommy was by far the best opponent he's faced so far. So
Way
it could have
better.
been a myriad of any of those things, but it was definitely entertaining, like Dylan said. I'm looking forward to see where both of those guys go now. You can only assume Tommy's going up towards titles and stuff like that. But what does Jake do now? Does he? Because obviously he's got the rematch clause with Tommy, so surely he's going to go with that. But
He's got to fight him again. Yeah.
for
He
sure.
has to.
But what
They
if
already
he
decided.
just decides to fight KSI now? Who knows? But taking the rematch would be the smartest thing, right? Because he could
Yeah.
just say, "Oh yeah, like I got you now. Like I figured you out. Just switch up a couple things and bang." So
Yeah. I mean, Tommy was able to find he got combos in, and I feel like Jake was just trying with that overhand right, and then like not backing it up. Yeah, he was just trying to swing on it.
especially in
But
those late
Tommy was
rounds,
getting
that's all he
jabs,
was
setting
looking
it up
for.
with the jabs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes,
Entire
I mean,
time.
You could tell Tommy's been doing this for a little while longer.
yeah.
The one round that I like to highlight was round number 5. That's the one that I was really stuck on, just because round number 5 really showed both boxers like power against each other. Obviously you got round 1, 2 filling each other out. 3 was really good. 4 was like, okay, it's starting to pick up. A 5, in my opinion, was the peak round of the entire boxing event,
Yeah.
just because how nonchalantly you can see Tommy being in there, like very loose. And in the sport of boxing, you have to be loose. While Jake is very tense, and he was like, okay, what do I do? Still trying to figure this guy out, but
Yeah.
he kind of found a groove. But then once he found that groove, he kept doing the same like moves to the point where Tommy's like, I'm
Yeah, he was getting
adapting.
redundant.
Exactly, like I'm adapting to this now. Like this is light work for me, because that's what
Yeah.
happened. Like round 5 was great in my opinion, but then after round 5, you can just tell that Tommy had more control over the fight.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I think what did Tyson say if Tommy lost, he was getting kicked out of the family.
Kicked
Good
out
thing
of the
he didn't get
family.
kicked out of the family. I know I
Yeah.
wouldn't want that to happen for me, for sure. But we'll switch over from one entertaining thing to another. The NHL trade deadline has been one of the craziest deadlines in the NHL for a long time. The the actual deadline day itself isn't usually as hyped up as it's hyped up to be, but the weeks and days leading up to this has been absolutely unreal. Like it all kind of started off. I got it here on my other screen. It all kind of started when Tarasenko got traded to the Rangers. That was back on February 9th. And then there was about a week where nothing happened. And then the next trade was O'Reilly going to the Maple Leafs, which, you all saw happened live on our freaking podcast. That was
cannot believe that.
a great piece of content for us. But
Insanity,
the biggest 2 days so far has been February 26th and 25th. You got Nino Niederreiter getting traded to the Jets. You've got Dmitry Orlov and Garrett Hathaway going to Boston, who, if they lose another game in the regular season, it's a bad thing, right? Like they've lost 8 games in regulation, I think. That team is unbelievably stacked. And then you've got Evgeny Dadonov going to the Stars, so the Stars get a little more depth for their playoff push. Barbashev goes to the Golden Knights. Timo Meier finally goes to New Jersey. I know that had been rumored for like months, it felt like. And then they finally... The funniest thing with that is if you look at like the trade details, if you've ever played like NHL or MLB, like video games, and there's like, if you try and make trades with teams, there's like a bar that's like, oh, this is how much the value for this, that, and the other player is. Same on the other side. There's like 6 different things, players and draft picks, go into either team in this Meyer trade. So everyone was making jokes compared it to like, oh, NHL, you just throw extra people into this thing just to even out the value so it actually goes through. I thought that was very funny. And then, Dylan, I'm sure you're definitely in on this. Tanner Jeannot going from Nashville to Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay sending back a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third and a fourth and a fifth-round pick, all in the next coming drafts. Like, what? Like, we could have sent Ivan Barbashev to Tampa Bay for that. Like, I would have taken that in a heartbeat. What are we doing here?
That's another one of those things. Like, you throw it in the draft thing, it's like a first-round pick, no, first and a second-round pick.
Yeah, but Tanner Jeannot, I would say Barbashev's better than Tanner Jeannot.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a 6-pick player. Even if it is later rounds, like, it's funny. I didn't think he was worth that either, but I guess both teams got what they wanted.
No. Yeah, I think it would either be like a first and a fifth or like a second, third, and fourth, not all of that combined. Like, that's dumb.
Like, maybe a first and a third.
Right, like some combination of that, not all 5 of those picks at the same time.
Yeah, they're just like, future, not for us.
Yeah. And then you had Patrick Kane going to the Rangers too.
Blues,
that one Blues and Blackhawks legends going to New York to try and win a cup. That's
going to be interesting.
I'm excited. Low key, I'm kind of excited to see how that pans out. Just a little bit.
It's just going to be weird seeing, like, obviously during All-Star games you see them wear like the same jersey, but like that's a once a year if they both get onto the same All-Star team kind of thing. But and then Jonathan Quick got dealt twice in 2 days.
What was up with that?
I don't understand what happened. So the Kings traded Jonathan Quick to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
It was Jonathan Quick and a first-round pick for this year's draft and a third-round pick for next year's draft in exchange for Gavrikov, and who is a prospect, I think. I don't remember what position he plays, and Jonas Korpisalo. So Korpisalo is a younger goalie. I don't think he's better than Jonathan Quick, but he's like 15 years younger. So, and the Blue Jackets get a first and a third-round pick for it. The Blue Jackets have sucked since they swept the Lightning, honestly. So it makes sense. But just as far as Jonathan Quick goes, like, Kings legend, you just sent him to Columbus with like him not knowing. That's strange. But then he got switched back to Vegas just today on the 2nd while we're recording this. So he went from playoff team to suck team back to playoff team. So I guess it's not all bad for him. So, and then the biggest two for me, being a Blues fan, are Luke Shen going to Toronto, and then Jacob Chikrin going to Ottawa. Those are two of the biggest like defenders that have been linked with the Blues getting traded to St. Louis for this deadline. There's people saying, "Oh, you could give up like a prospect or two. We got 3 first-round picks this year. Like you could send 1 or 2 of those over to get one of those guys." Like both of those guys, obviously having Luke Shen would be fun just because his brother Braden already plays for us, right?
Yeah.
And Luke Shen is a physical defenseman. Like we have Robert Bortuzzo. And who else as far as physicality? Like Tyler Tucker's sort of developing into that role, and I really like that. But like he's not a proven NHL guy yet, so
Yeah.
Having Luke Shen would have been someone that I really liked. And then Jacob Chikrin, kind of. I mean, I think he's about the same size as Luke Shen, but he's more of an offensive guy. But he's more of a two-way, sort of similar to like a Pietrangelo kind of. Just and seeing like the returns on how like what these guys were getting traded for, like it's just a little sad. But,
Yeah. Chikrin would have been a great piece. I mean, Ottawa, I think, is going to get good use out of him, but it would have been cool to have him.
Yeah, the other thing, too, with the Senators was that apparently there were rumors that Colton Parayko was going to get traded there, which would have been awesome if you ask me. But, yeah, a first-round pick and a first-round pick this year, and then a second-round pick in 24 and a second-round pick in 26. That's what the Coyotes got for Chikrin. And I'm trying to find Luke Shen. The Maple Leafs sent a third-round pick to the Maple Leafs for Luke Shen. Like, oh well. I mean, it is what it is.
This is gonna be interesting.
We're a rebuilding team, so. But enough Blues talk. We're getting to them later. So
it's been more active of a trade deadline. I feel like every year the NHL trade deadline is hyped. Like, oh, players are gonna be on the move, big names on the market, and it just never is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool to see people moving this year.
Yeah, a lot of people
that
you really wouldn't expect.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one reason the NBA is so like popular right now is because not only are these guys only on like 3 or 4 year contracts to begin with, but it seems like unless your name is LeBron or Giannis or like one of the top 5 guys in the league,
Dylan,
or Dylan, you've got a. There's rumors of you getting traded somewhere. Like, look at KD and Kyrie got traded. Like, who would have thought that was going to happen a year ago?
Even if you're like a solid number 2 guy, it's like, okay, where can we get this guy to back up one of the greats?
Exactly. Which is always weird. Like, how do these teams trade 5 first-round picks for one guy? Like, when like looking at it from a hockey standpoint, like that is. The only person that would ever make sense for is either McDavid or Gretzky or Lemieux. But what do I know? I'm not an NBA guy, so
this is peanut gallery.
Yeah.
Back to the Kane news. I thought he would just be a Blackhawk forever.
You would think so, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I thought that, but also they're a rebuilding team and they need to get their They need to get something for him. Like his time and his kind of prime, quote unquote, it's not necessarily over, but they gotta get something for him while they can. If they've been in this limbo of rebuilding and not being very good at it.
They've been rebuilding for a hot minute now.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I really wasn't surprised when Kane was making the switch because I mean they haven't been rebuilding in my opinion. It's just been a standstill for quite a while now.
Well, the whole allegations and the thing with Kyle Beach and all that surfaced up a year or 2 ago. That definitely didn't help them out for sure.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, and with Patrick Kane, you could think the same with Tarasenko. Like obviously, Patrick Kane was with the Blackhawks for like 4 or 5 more years than Tarasenko.
Yeah.
Like you could argue Tank is past his prime too, and. Yeah, he was making the most by any forward on our team this year, but like you could argue that you could have seen him in a blue sweater for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there was always drama with him.
Yeah.
Like I mean, for good reason, not saying like he was a problem. I mean, he ended up being a problem, but that's because of he had good reason to
It was a two-way
feel
street.
the way he felt.
Like he
Right.
he could have taken everything better, but like he was mad that he didn't get the captaincy, which you could go back and forth all day about whether he deserved it or not. And then the fact
Yeah.
that he hurt his shoulder once but had to have surgery on it 3 times because the first 2 times they messed it up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
That's-
I don't see
yeah.
a problem with you being upset about that. Like,
No.
so-
I think if you're upset about not getting the captain's patch, that shows exactly why you shouldn't
why
be
you
a
weren't.
captain.
Yeah,
Why you weren't the captain.
he could have taken everything a little bit, but maybe outside of the surgery. The surgery, I'd 100% agree with being pissed
Yeah.
off about that. But like the captaincy and like, yeah, he could have handled things a little bit better. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was right for 2 minutes that we were winning games without him, and
You were
we
right.
could have made the playoffs, but.
For 3 whole games.
For 3, and then what happened?
Now,
And now we've lost 6 in a row, and we could lose to
here's
the
the
Sharks
crazy
tonight.
part. That too, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but either tonight, if we lose tonight, it's like history that we have lost that many in a row. Either it's tonight or the next game if we lose.
So if we lose tonight, it'd be 7 in a row. We play the Sharks tonight, and we lost 8 in a row at the beginning of the season. So
the record, I'm pretty sure, for the Blues is
I wonder if that was. I wouldn't know. I wonder if that was the record earlier.
8
This
because
season.
I remember
I don't
someone saying this to me, and I don't remember if it was at work or it was at the game, but saying like at least we can break one more record as a Blues fan, like as a team, and I'm like, what record could that be? And they're like for the losing streak, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Who knows?
Not fun.
Happy
Okay.
record breaking.
Yes. Anyway, moving on to something a little on a lighter note, we're gonna talk some baseball real quick. The World Baseball Classic's coming up in a couple weeks, and then spring training's just now starting. Regular season starting, I believe, the last week of March. But the biggest thing in spring training this year is the pitch clock. Obviously, the last couple of years the MLB has been kind of testing it out in the minor leagues and slowly kind of fine tuning it, getting it ready for the major leagues, and it's causing a lot of talk, that's for sure. So for those who don't know, if you don't, the way that it works is as soon as a batter comes up to the plate, if there's no one on base, there's a 15-second timer that starts counting down as soon as the pitcher gets the ball. So the batter has to be in the box, ready to go, looking at the pitcher, waiting for the pitch, with 8 seconds left. And if that passes, the ump calls time and gives the batter a strike against it because he's not ready. And then if that clock hits 0 and the pitcher doesn't at least start his windup, I believe is the rule, then the ump calls time and gives the batter a ball because the pitcher took too long. Now, if there's runners on base, that goes from 15 to 30 seconds, but the same 8 seconds and then 0 seconds rule apply for all that. So I believe the number was after the first weekend they implemented this, the spring training games got cut by like 26 minutes, 28 minutes, something like that. Just like that, with only putting this thing in. And for me, I like baseball, but my goodness, is it so long sometimes. Like, it can get
that's how I
so
feel.
boring. Like,
That's
I
how I
understand the
feel.
tactics of it and the kind of how the game works, and I appreciate all that. Like, a good pitching battle or good, like, strategic moves are always something I enjoy in sports regardless. But, like, when you have to there's videos on Twitter right now of someone striking out a batter in 20 seconds, and on the other side is a minute and a half long segment where the pitcher doesn't even throw a pitch. It's like, yes, the one that I saw was a playoff game, so I think we can have that conversation down the line of whether this should be in the playoffs or not, because that's a little different. But it's anything to speed the game up, speed the game of baseball up for me is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I like the way it's speeding up the game because I mean, it's possible to like baseball and still be mad at the fact that it takes a minute and a half to throw one pitch. Like that is kind of ridiculous. But it's also kind of, I've seen some videos like on Twitter and stuff where the pitcher is like he's starting his windup, and I saw the ump call like give the batter a ball, and I'm like, oh, let's not let this like decide games or anything
Yeah.
like that, because that would be atrocious. That would suck. So I think it's just they got to tweak it. They got to find their sweet spot with it. But I think overall it would be good. Maybe not, but the players may not really like it. But I think the viewers and the fans might enjoy it more because it's not like you take a pitch and then you have time. If you're at the game to go get a hot dog and take a leak and then come back, like that would be. I'm glad that they're not getting back, but going to this because it'll make it more fun to view and easier to take in, so you're not like just waiting so long.
That's why I think it's like coming from again an outsider. I've never really been into baseball because of that reason,
Yeah.
because it was to the point where it was too long. Like these innings are so long. Like again, how crazy is it to someone to throw a pitch, or they haven't even thrown a pitch in a minute and something has already gone by?
Yeah.
With this new pitch clock, I think is going to be, well, it's not new. It's already been implemented, obviously, but with this whole new thing for the MLB is going to be way better, not only for the viewer experience, but I honestly think it's going to be a little bit more competitive because now you have to like be quick on your feet. People who used to take long now actually have to adapt and be like, okay, what can I do to just be like, I'm doing this kind of a thing?
Harrison Bader is pissed off at this rule.
Is he really?
Well, okay, so I don't know obviously, but Harrison Bader when he played for the Cardinals, I'm not lying to you, if you went back and watched every single at bat, in between every single pitch, he would step out of the batter's box, just like put his bat like lean it against him, undo his gloves, make them all tight, do this, and then step back into the box and like do his thing. He's got to touch the plate 8 times and like whatever. I mean, like it's a solid 25-second thing between
Routine,
every pitch,
yeah.
and it's like I understand you kind of have a thing, but like most people, it's like okay, let me hit both sides of the plate and then bang, I'm ready. Like
Yeah.
and you have
You would still have time to step out, fix the gloves, pick up the bat, and hit the plate. Like
yeah,
if he does it one time, not like this whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no, going back to what you said, Dylan, about like the fans liking it more, I think that's how most sports should be for most things. Mm-hmm. Like, if the fans, if no one's gonna watch, then what's the point? Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, because you can just go make up some other random version of the game you want to watch and just go outside and do that, and it's more fun for you, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think, obviously, there's probably some like football with certain physical things, like certain hits are illegal now that 15 years were legal and fun to watch.
Yeah.
But you got CTE and stuff like that we're finding out. So maybe some of that's a good thing that the fans aren't in charge of those rules.
Yeah.
But so there's a balance to that for sure. But yeah, I think the fans are going to enjoy this a whole lot more than some of the players. And eventually they're just going to get so used to it that it is what it is, and it's just part
an adaptation
part
thing.
Of the game.
It's an adaptation thing,
for sure.
and every sport has adapted in their years. So I just think it's finally time for baseball to adapt as well.
For
and
sure.
I'm happy that they are. So let's keep the train going and adapting to all these new things, because sooner or later, it's always going to be the fans' experience, because that's what their revenue is from.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just think it's just good for the better.
That's been baseball's thing for a while too. It's like they're losing audience because young people aren't sticking around to watch the games, and old people are just dying. Like they're just losing.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Straight up, like they're just
Yeah.
people aren't starting to watch baseball. It's only people who watch baseball are just no longer watching it.
Yeah.
So they need some things. Like obviously the game of baseball is great. Everybody like it's fun to play. It's fun to playoff baseball is fun to watch. Like there's aspects that I think most sports fans love about baseball, but a lot of them aren't going to sit there for 4 hours to see like 3 runs total. Sometimes like that, So
Yeah.
and that's another thing the pitch clock might affect. It might more runs might come with it, or
Well, the other thing, the 2 other big rules that they're forcing this year are for the pitchers. I don't know if it's per batter or if it's per inning, but they're only allowed 2 pickoffs. So like if a runner's on first and they're like, oh, he might steal second. Is it per at bat? I didn't know which one. But since they only have 2, say you've got some speedster on first and they pick him off twice and he's safe both times, well, you essentially have the green light to steal on the very
Mhm.
next pitch, because if the pitcher does it, then they get penalized. Like,
Yeah.
and the other thing is the shift. They've pretty much negated the shift where you have to have the two guys on either side of second base. You can't send someone else from the infield over to
Yeah.
the other side of the field.
I'm
Which,
excited to see how they are going to try to get work around that.
yeah, I don't know. Like, is it only until the pitcher starts his windup, or only until the batter hits the ball, or is it straight like only the outfielders are allowed to go wherever? Like, will people like push the third baseman out to left field and put the left fielder over where the shortstop used to go, kind of
Yeah,
thing?
and
Like,
stuff like that. Or somebody said, what if they send him in motion? Like when the pitcher
that's what
starts his windup, the
that's what I
shortstop
mean. Like, as
beelines
soon
it
as he starts
across.
to pitch and he just starts bolting over that way, like,
Hey,
I think
that'd be funny.
it'd be
See,
fun to
that'd
watch,
be
right?
fun to watch. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
fun
Exactly.
to watch to see that.
I'm in the camp of they shouldn't have really made this thing a rule anyway, because if you've made it to the big leagues, like, you should be able to at the very least bunt against the shift, let alone like try and hit to the other side.
Yeah.
But I do think, going back to the fan enjoyment of the game, I think it's just gonna make that product better. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. For
I think
sure.
the rule
I'm
is
excited.
unintentionally going to make it more interesting in ways of like if we send somebody in motion, or like a fielder is coming in and out, like some weird stuff might happen, which would be cool to watch.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm all for it. And yeah, like you said, it's hard to sit on a Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock in St. Louis when the heat index is 120,
Yeah.
watching a 4 hour game of baseball. Like, people who go to the hospital for that. Like,
Yeah, sitting up in the bleeds with no sun, like nothing
Mhm.
protecting you from the sun. Yeah, it'd get rough. It'd get sketchy.
sitting on bleachers with the same material as those slides you'd slide down on a 3-year-old and get fourth degree
Yeah.
burns on your legs. Like,
I'd get hurt. I'd get hurt.
that's what I'm saying.
Facts.
So that's one thing I'm definitely looking forward to for baseball. But we'll shift gears a little bit from one circle ball to the other. Quick little one. LeBron James is injured for the foreseeable future. That's something that some people are definitely not going to like to hear, because he's the best basketball player this decade and the last decade, and maybe even arguably the 2000s, even though he hit the league in 2003. Like, so the Lakers are currently they're one game out of the play-in round at 30-33. It blows my mind that you can be under 500 to make the playoffs, but more
That's
teams in,
basketball with this
more,
play-in tournament. Is,
more teams in means more money, means more eyes, means more fans. So
yeah.
again,
Always.
I'm for it, but
I wish him a speedy recovery, but I mean, it's been already a while now, so it's like,
yeah, and I mean, the dude's what, 37, 38 years old?
he's old, so he has
Like,
to take a
38.
lot longer to
38.
recover.
He's the Tom Brady of basketball. Like, he's just not going to stop playing until no one just re-signs him. And if he's going to stay until his son plays, like, that's what, at least 3 or 4 more years?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's still in high school.
Yeah, shoot. And he's still got to go for a year in college and do all that. Here's a question for you.
I think I know what you're gonna ask, but go for it.
What do you think about the rule after, I think it was after LeBron came in, where you're forced to play a year of college before you go into the league?
I don't like it. Only reason I say that because now it's harder for people to break those records. People who are dreaming about breaking LeBron's record or whatever. Like, it was like, you got to be drafted right after high school in order to do something like that. You just have to. I mean, for that, how much time you've played, or unless you play until you're a little bit older. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I personally think that if someone is really good enough and you show your dedication, no matter who you are, and they try you out after high school, you damn well you should be drafted after high school.
I don't mind it because, especially now because of NIL, like if you just wanted to get to the league as fast as possible because you got to provide, like, so you come from an unfortunate family or something like that. Like, you can still get money in college now. So that's nice. And I mean, I think you might as well. I mean, it's cool to go to college. I feel like college basketball, especially, is one of the greatest. Like, the whole month of March is like
March Madness. Yeah.
associated with college basketball. I feel like that's something I would, if I was ever in that position, I would still like to at least experience being in a March Madness tournament. Like, it would be cool, especially for basketball. And I mean, the one and done thing is its whole other argument. You could also argue that kids should have to go all 4 years and get like so they could get a degree, but that might not be the best for it either because some of these kids, like, it's so obvious their life is going to be basketball, and in the NBA, like, they don't. What do they need a degree for? You know, they're going to play 20 years in the NBA, like, whatever.
Exercise science, duh.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Be the
Yeah.
team doctor and the
and the player.
yeah.
Yeah, I think especially like Dylan said, I think now that you have the opportunity to make money in college, it's a definite game changer. Because even like Brian said, like if you're good enough to go to the league, like why not? But the other thing is like, okay, well this is an 18-year-old kid who's coming into a league, who's what? They're going to be 5'10", 120 soaking wet, going up against the likes of Shaquille O'Neal, like.
Yeah.
That's a little unfair. So
not only do they need kind of the physical coaching and the basketball coaching, they might need some of the life experience coaching, like just being away from family for a little bit, but like there's still people that are looking after you. Whereas if you go to the league, just
you're on
out
your
of
own
living in your mom's
good luck.
house, and then you're in a city you don't know with all this money, you might find yourself in some problems.
Then they're gonna have to go back to college and get a degree because
of the situations what happened.
Yeah.
I've completely forgot about that rule where you can make money now in college. That's a whole different thing. But
I think it's great.
It's awesome. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just glad that it means we're gonna get NCAA video games again.
Oh my god.
For sure.
Yep.
Next year, next summer, NCAA.
Yeah,
I thought it was this summer.
It was supposed to be this summer, but I thought I heard that it got
pushed
pushed a year because they're. I heard because they're trying to get like authentic like crowd chants and get like just get better on the graphics.
Give us the
and stuff
game.
like that.
Just give us the game.
Improve it next year. Just make it better next year.
Right. I hope that they just make one that you have to buy and then they just update it year after year after year instead of like FIFA or NHL where they just come out with a whole brand new game. But
yeah, we know it's not going to happen.
There's no way that's going to happen.
Everybody's got to have their money.
Money.
Yeah.
Definitely got to have their money. Speaking of money, the richest sport in the world is coming back this weekend. Formula One. I guarantee you neither of these two guys know the first thing about Formula One, so I'm going to talk about this for 2 seconds. But Formula One's back this week. They're in Bahrain for the opening race of the season. I'm not like a super hardcore F1 guy, but I definitely try and watch as many races as I can. It's kind of hard. Like the race in Bahrain this Sunday is at 9 in the morning. When they're in Australia, it starts at midnight. Like the Japan starts at midnight. Like when they're on the other side of the world, it's kind of hard to get up at 6, 7, 8 in the morning on a Sunday to watch it. But there's there's 3 races in America this year. There's a race in Mexico, one in Brazil. So,
and there always one in Texas.
Yeah, so there's always been one in Texas, and then last year they had a race in Miami, right outside of where the Dolphins play. And then now this year they're going to have the Texas race, the Miami race, and now they're having one in Vegas.
Nice.
I can't remember. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. When so the Miami one is in a few weeks or like a month, and then there's one in Vegas and then one in Texas. They just kind of spread out through the year. They try and do it to where it's like, all right, we're gonna have 3 races like in this part of Europe, and we're gonna have 3 races in the Middle East here, and 3 races like in South America or something like that, just to limit travel as much as they can. for the drivers and all that, which is
Like
smart.
how a sports team will take a trip out to California and play those teams, and then take
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
Just on a little larger scale for sure. But I'm excited. I like Formula One the most out of any racing promotion or sport, I guess. So I don't know if either of you have anything else to say about it. It's just supposed to be a
Yeah.
quick one.
All I've got to say is the cars look cool and unique, and I've heard
Yeah.
Drive to Survive is really good to watch.
Yes, it is. There's a brand new season that came out like a week or two ago that I still need to watch. But most people in America, at least, they watch Drive to Survive, and that is what gets them into Formula One. I highly recommend it. Dylan, have you seen the Full Swing documentary?
I watched like the first 2 episodes. It's like the same people, right?
Yeah, same production company, same, and the gist of it's kind of similar. So in this Full Swing, they pick 2 players, while in the Drive to Survive, they'll pick 2 teams, and just kind of follow them around for an episode. And basically take Full Swing times like 4, as far as like
these dudes like hate each other, right?
It's a very interesting dynamic. So like if you're on the same team, there's 2 drivers per team, and you're teammates, but you're like enemies at this, like your friend, like everyone there are friends, but like if you're on the same team as someone, there's no like excuse to do worse than the other guy because you're in the exact same car. Like every team has some mobility to design their cars, and like there's certain engines and stuff, which is kind of why I like F1 so much, because like certain teams have so much money to mess with depending on how they finished in the season before, and like the higher teams have less money to spend, the worse teams have more money to spend to like improve their car. But if you're on the same team, like if me and Dylan were on the same team and we had the exact same car, and he won every single race and I got like 3rd or 4th every single race with like consistently, then I'm just a worse driver. So other teams are going to be like, this guy might not be as good as he thinks he is, even though he's on one of the better teams. So Drive to Survive is a must watch. If you like sports and drama at the same time, watch Drive to Survive. But that's all I'll say about that. Nothing too crazy. But
that's my F1 recap. Drive to Survive is good.
Yeah, I think Brian had the best one, honestly.
Yeah. All those opinions floating around up there.
Yep.
Lights are on, but nobody's home.
Speaking of Brian, that shirt that he's wearing, St. Louis City SC. We'll go to the local bit of the podcast now. Brian is wearing the best team in the West right now, even though they're 5th on goal difference.
And you know it.
Oh
but
my
it's okay.
God.
It's okay.
So,
it's okay. It's all right.
So I know Brian had other things going on Saturday night, so he didn't watch the entirety of the game. But I didn't know if Dylan did or not. Were you able to?
I was able to watch the second half.
Okay.
So it felt very different from like, obviously it is very different from like World Cup and the European leagues, but it felt like it was faster paced. I don't know if I was wrong thinking that. I feel like the European guys, they all think better and they kind of have more clear, concise decisions. They know where they're putting the ball. It felt like a mad gab. Like everybody was trying to make this play, make that happen, and some weird turnovers. Like you saw
our second goal.
Our second goal.
Our second goal with
yeah.
Which was funny. It's funny because the guy who did the mistake is from St. Louis. He played at SLU University, and the guy who scored the goal for us used to play Texas last year.
You saw him kind of do the thing most soccer players do if they score on one of their old teams. They're like, I did it, but I'm not celebrating it. Kind of
and
thing.
then all the Austin Texans fans were like clapping because I mean he's a good player. He's a good player.
Yeah, he is.
So for whoever didn't watch the game, basically Austin had the ball in their own side, and he was probably at like the top of the box, and he was dribbling out towards his offensive side of the field, and then he just kind of turned back. I guess he tried to give it to the goalie, but a St. Louis City player was standing directly between him and the goalie, just took the ball and scored. Mm-hmm. And he was like,
It's such just a random, like I've never seen anything like that before, because like 30 seconds before, St. Louis had like a fast break. They had a couple guys coming in, and the guy that fell over, or this guy fell over in the process and just kind of laid there for a second, because he was probably just tired because he ran 70 yards nonstop looking for a goal. So he gets back up, but by the time he gets back up, like Austin has the ball, they got possession, they're looking to just build up through the back and try and push up the field, get a chance, right? Well, yeah, the defender, you can see it on his face as he does a replay. Like he turns, he passes it back, and then like 3 seconds later, you see him like do this. Like he didn't even realize what he had done because he'd done that back pass thousands of times in his life, right?
And there's not supposed to be a guy there.
No, there's that guy is never there ever. And then he he passes it back and then like kind of turns back around like facing the other goal for a second because he's like whatever. And then like he hears the crowd going nuts, so he turns back around and he's like, "Oh no!" And then at that point we made it 2-2, and that was
that tied it.
Yeah, that made it 2-2, and then in like the 86th minute, João Klaus, the
legend,
the Brazilian legend, St. Louis icon now, just goes on a run by himself. He jukes a defender outside the foot, far post and in, and oh my goodness, pretty much everything that the head coach and the GM had said over the last year about who we get and how we're going to play and the style, perfectly executed. Just like Dylan said, there was not a single tie over all of the games this last weekend. Draws are rare in MLS. Like just like Dylan said, European and like South American soccer, it's a lot more mental, it's a lot more tactical. And there's tactics to MLS too. Like you saw St. Louis, their tactic was run, attack, high press, counter attack.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna force you to make mistakes. But like the style, that tactic, that style offers, especially for us, like that we're definitely going to lose a couple of games like 5-1 because there were so many times where like there was one guy, Austin would have the ball, there'd be one guy, and then a second guy would just come in out of nowhere to try and put that 2-on-1 to get the ball back quickly. Well, there were a couple of times where Austin like made a couple of quick passes and it looked like they would have had numbers in their favor on the other side of the field. That's definitely going to bite us in the butt eventually, but that style of play, it's almost like a half-court press in basketball. That's kind of how I saw it. Like as soon as they cross into our half of the field, we're on them and like we're getting the ball back. Which, like I said, we're gonna lose a couple of games bad because of that. But I do really enjoy having them play the game like that, for sure.
That attacking side is crazy. That's what I love, and I'm like, we really haven't seen an MLS team do that in a little bit. So for them to just go guns a-blazing, I love it. Love every second.
Oh yeah, it's almost like you just take European soccer, but you spike the Gatorade with ketamine.
Yeah.
And these dudes are just the play's a little more sloppy, but stuff is happening. Like it's fun to watch. MLS, I think is back, and I think it's gonna grow.
So that's what I was gonna bring this as a surprise topic, but over the years, I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Charlotte FC, broke a record for attendance. For the first time ever for like MLS viewership, not only at the stadium, which I think it was like over 60-something thousand people watching at the stadium, but then obviously the viewership around. Like MLS is growing so much, and I think it's because of the World Cup, especially because the United States made it into the World Cup.
Yep.
That everyone is realizing like, oh shit, this is dope, this is awesome,
Fun to watch.
I'm excited to see. Exactly. So it's the excitement, and then the new playoff system that the MLS has as well is going to be making. I just think MLS is going to be. I still think it's going to be the retirement league, but with the hint of now there's more
slowly
opportunities.
Getting there. Yeah.
Yes, we're slowly getting there, and I'm excited.
That World Cup final, France and Argentina, could only do nothing but good things for American soccer.
Yes.
Because that game, Argentina went up 2-0 early, and like the second half of the first half, and then the first half of the second half was pretty boring. But then Mbappe scores 2 quick goals, sends it to, and then it goes to extra time, then it goes to penalties, and just like absolute pandemonium for a good 45 minutes. It felt like, could only
Oh,
do
yeah.
wonders for the MLS. And yeah, Brian, like you said, like so Charlotte FC and Atlanta United both play in that city's respective football stadium. So that like St. Louis SC stadium is like 21,000, I think. So there's no chance ever we'll break that record, right? But since these guys play in those football stadiums, they have the opportunity to sell out these stadiums. And the fact that they did, yeah,
it was crazy.
That's awesome. Like
it makes me feel so excited for soccer in the United States. I've been waiting for this moment for so long,
we need a Drive
I'm
to
so
Survive version of MLS or something like
And
that.
not to toot our own horn, but I'm looking at the standings right now. We're in second place. So I mean, I know it's literally we've only played one game, but we're in
Hey.
second right now.
Well, we are playing Charlotte this weekend, and they have
gonna be a
historically they lost their first game this year at home.
but with a
and-
historic bang.
Yes, because with St. Louis winning their first game away, their first game being home, or this is being their first game in St. Louis. That stadium is going to go nuts.
Oh my gosh,
absolutely crazy. So
I'm
because
so
of that, me and Brian are going to the game on Saturday. We're gonna be there. We're not gonna be in the supporters section. We're gonna be one section over. We're gonna be there. I'm gonna try and vlog the whole day and see how that goes. Hope so. If you see a video in the next week or two about it, that's awesome. If not, then I just messed up somehow. But yeah, the last thing I want to kind of go in depth on that new playoff system before we move on to the Blues real quick. So up until this year, the last I don't know because there's so many new teams coming into MLS. I don't know how often the playoff rules change, but I know for the last few years how it's been is kind of basically NFL football. The number one team in your conference gets a bye, and then 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5 play each other. And from there, you get 4 teams, 2 teams, 1 team from each conference. They play in the final. Whoever wins, right? And it's just like football. It's a one and done. If you lose a game, you're out. So now, and I don't know why they just did this now, even because we're the only new team this season. But hey, so instead of the top 7 making the playoffs, it's going to be the top 9 in each conference. And similar to the NBA, Team 8 and Team 9 are going to play one game to decide who makes it into the playoffs as the 8 seed. And then from there, it's going to be just like hockey or basketball. It's 1-8, 2-7, and so on. But the change they're having this year is the first round is a best of 3, just like the wild card is now in baseball. So that means a couple of extra games for these teams. There's a little bit more room for error for these better teams. Like if they have one bad game, they've got 2 games to bounce back and move on, right? And then after that first round, it's the same thing. 1 game, one and done, win and move on, lose and go home. But I think a mixture of all of that is going to make for great viewing. You got a play-in game, you got a best of 3.
Yeah,
all that's going to be
I'm so excited.
insane.
I'm
to
so
watch.
excited.
So
I'm so excited.
Soccer's doing nothing but going up in this country, and hopefully that means we make it past the round of 16 in the 26 World Cup. But
I'm not rooting
we'll
for
see.
US.
I mean, we automatically made it into the tournament because we're hosting it, so
no.
Who knows? But I just want to
Mexico versus Portugal. Mexico versus Portugal for the final. I'm calling it now.
Okay. Ronaldo's going to be 50 years old, so that's not going to
Remember this. Mexico versus Portugal on the final.
All right, we'll see. But we'll go on to a slightly more sad. We've already talked about it a lot, so we ain't got to touch on it too much. But these bad boys are awful. 6 in a row after trading away your captain and a solid 4th liner, and now trading Barbashev. The Blues stink. We're getting a top 10 pick, and I've just accepted it. Like I want us to win hockey games because I'm a competitive guy, and like seeing my team lose sucks. But like the sad fact is, if we lose a game, it doesn't hurt as much as it did 2 months ago, and that sucks.
We're about to be on the verge of breaking a losing streak record.
Yeah.
Franchise though, not.
No, not NHL. NHL.
Yeah,
franchise. My bad. Franchise. I mean, shit. At this pace, we might as well break the freaking
Break the NHL record.
the NHL
Might
record,
as well. Might as well.
but yeah, I'm not too happy with our boys, but at the same time, we're in a rebuilding stage. So yes, it sucks to see them lose, but I have a glimpse of hope, and hopefully in the next year or two we can get something going.
We've got
Yeah,
we've
it'd be
got
nice.
prospects. We've got guys coming through the minors and guys really thriving down in the AHL that are young guys. So hopefully Armstrong's just keeping them down in the minors because they're a really good AHL team and
Mm-hmm.
have a chance to win the AHL championship. I would much rather have all of our prospects be on that team and win now, just so they can get that mindset of how to win at that
Yep.
level. That way they can bring that up to the big leagues. Obviously, it's not the same, but I would rather them go on a deep playoff run in the minors instead of
Water under the bridge.
instead of joining
Yeah,
a
which I agree.
bottom 10 team in the league for the last month of it and just get sad.
Yeah. And let them develop. Don't let them get burnt out against
Exactly.
the top players whenever they're just let them develop, let them do their thing, bring them up when we're ready to really compete again, kind of deal.
For sure. Yeah, they're the Blues are taking on the Sharks tonight. That game's gonna start here within the next half hour as we're recording this. So you'll see this after the fact. Who knows if we win or lose? I don't know.
My predictions 4-1 Sharks.
Okay. They did just trade away Timo Meyer, so
Dude, that was
Yeah, we
really-
just traded away half our
Yeah.
team too.
this
So.
might be one of the worst games the NHL sees this season. This might
I
be a
say
1-0 shutout
2-1.
win.
Lowest viewership because
Yeah.
they just traded Timo Meyer and
Yeah.
we suck.
This,
So
this
none of
game,
the fans
this
are gonna
game's
watch.
gonna either end up being a 1-0 score in a shootout, or it's gonna be like 7-6.
I'm excited. Like after this, I'm gonna be putting it on. I'm gonna
For
watch
sure.
it and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, absolutely. But we'll go from a sad team to a brighter team. Just real quick, Battlehawks are playing again this weekend. Playing on
Let's
Sunday. They're playing against the team that is closest to where Dylan is at the moment. They're playing the DC Defenders this weekend.
DC Defenders.
They are
I love
also
the name.
2-0. So
Great
we
name.
got two heavyweights going at each other.
It's very exciting because it's split up into North and South in the XFL,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're the only two undefeated teams in the North. It's us who are 2-0, and then the other two are 0-2. So it's exciting, and the DC Defenders quarterback is our quarterback, the first go around of the revamp of the XFL. So we had Jordan Teamu in the 2020 season. He is
Mhm.
now quarterback for the DC Defenders. So it's going to be a fun
It's
game.
gonna be a great game.
It's going to be, important for the seeding. Like, someone stays undefeated, someone loses their 0. So it'll be
That's
exciting.
right.
I'm excited to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's in DC, right?
Yes, it's in DC. You might have to
Well,
go to
Oh
that.
Might have to cop some tickets. Let me look.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be next week because next week is going to be our first home game, but I definitely want to make it to a home game this year.
I need to put a Battlehawks jersey on order ASAP.
You're right.
Overnight it or something.
Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about it because we got the XFL's Tom Brady, so and AJ McCarron leading down last second drives to win ball games.
I'm excited to see how it all plays out. I'm excited because I'm still trying to get used to the rules that they have and everything. But to me, it makes it even more exciting, kind of a thing.
Yeah, kind of learning about it.
So it's crazy, but yeah, like Dylan said, it's going to be a phenomenal game, and I'm excited to watch it as well.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that I think I mentioned it briefly last week, but I saw something yesterday or today that kind of backed it up. Apparently, the numbers, like the viewers between week 1 and week 2 of the XFL, literally dropped in half. So that
It dropped in half?
Yeah, the viewership dropped by to 50% compared to week 1. So obviously, hopefully that doesn't continue because obviously the less eyes that watch it, the less likely the league's going to succeed. I thought that since it's going straight after this, they started the week after the Super Bowl, that it would just thrive throughout the whole way. But I guess people are like, okay, I need a break from football. So hopefully that only means they're gone for a couple of weeks, and then as the playoffs get closer, they kind of come back. But yeah, obviously St. Louis is going to go nuts for it because it's the only football we got.
That's the only
But,
thing
like,
we have. Is the
DC,
only thing.
Seattle, Houston, like these cities that have NFL teams, like it's a little different in those areas. So
Yeah.
hopefully that trend
We'll
doesn't
see.
continue, but we'll see.
As long as the XFL's around and in St. Louis, it'll thrive in St. Louis. So.
Yeah, but that's my only worry is that it's only going to thrive in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And not
but-
anyone else,
yeah.
and that's what might be another kind of a thing.
Yeah, because
But-
we're the only non NFL city in the North Division because you got Vegas, Seattle, and DC, and then
Yeah.
so there's in the South there's San Antonio, which doesn't have an NFL team. There's Houston,
Arlington.
which is the Cowboys because they're right outside of Dallas. Houston. What's the fourth one? Orlando. Thank you. Yeah, which. I mean, you've got the Dolphins that are kind of close, but that's still like a 3 or 4 hour drive. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple Florida teams, but there's not.
that's like us to the Chiefs, about distance wise. So
Yeah, relatively.
Yeah.
so yeah, go Battlehawks. Cacaw is still the law.
Go
Cause
STL,
of
man.
all-
Go St. Louis.
Yeah.
Go somewhat of St. Louis.
Anyway, we're about to wrap her up here. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this rendition of the Peanut Gallery. Like I said at the start, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit subscribe for us while you're at it. But before we end, we are going back to some debate topics. Dylan's got a couple of questions for us. Last time we found out that Brian likes ketchup on his pizza. I don't know if we're ever going to top that ever, but we'll try. So
No.
Dylan,
This one shouldn't be as aggravating. It's more.
Aggravating. Come on.
Oh, shut up! It was aggravating. But so this week we got sports rules or sports, not sports rules, but like debates within sports themselves, I guess.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the first one is something I think we all kind of have an opinion on. Should there be advertisements on jerseys?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like, I mean, it's always been big in soccer, but it's coming to like basketball and hockey now, and everybody has an opinion on it right now. So
I say no. And the only reason I say no is because I believe that the sponsors should be flaunted on the stadium. I get why they want to do it here, but it's just too much junk, man. You know, you got too much on the jersey where it's like, where do I look? What do I do? You know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And you see some of these European teams with, I'm going back to the soccer because that's one of the main sports that I'm really good at talking about. But some of the European sports, their jerseys are clean. Like maybe like Barcelona with their big sponsor right there, but like one sponsor, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different type of sponsors on them. So I think no, unless if it's like a Barcelona situation where it's just one, the biggest sponsor of them all. Boom, that's it.
yeah,
That's me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think because talking about it with hockey and basketball, especially because that's definitely a newer thing. The problem is if you look at European hockey and European basketball, these guys have literally 12 different sponsors on the jersey.
yeah,
Like soccer, yeah, like they've got the like Purina is on Brian's right there. Like they've only got the one. With that one, they've got the sleeves, a couple of this on either side, and then one. I don't think there's one on the back. There might be though. I don't see one. But when you look at like basketball and hockey in Europe, these guys have 12 different sponsorships all over the jersey, and it just looks ugly.
It's awful.
The problem is, I don't hate the one singular sponsor on like right here on the shoulder in the NHL and the NBA, but that's only going to snowball into these European leagues.
yeah.
So I am definitely team no sponsors on baseball, basketball, hockey, and football. Soccer, I like it because realistically, you've got the brand, and then you've got the team,
Brand.
and then the yeah, the logo. So like there's this entire like bottom half of the jersey to fill up, and some soccer teams will like try on the jersey themselves to like make some wacky pattern. Most of the time that doesn't work. So the one sponsor like right across the chest, I really like.
Yeah.
But with every other sport, like and right now with this one logo right here, I don't hate it. I actually think they kind of look clean, but I don't want them to be on the jerseys because you're just gonna throw it straight to the European leagues where they've got a million sponsors on the jerseys, and it just looks bad.
That's pretty much how I feel. I mean, it's when you grow up with American sports and there was no sponsors as we were growing up. It's just like, why would you put the logo on or the sponsor on the jersey? But like when it comes to like the Blues, when they just have the little block lettering, it just says Stiefel. It's clean.
It's
Like
clean.
it looks fine. But like you said, I don't
Well,
want
and
100
even with
logos.
hockey, like I think once COVID hit, they started putting them on the helmets.
Yeah, I don't think I like that though.
Yeah. Well, cause like Dylan said, like with the pretty much, I don't know off the top of my head every single sponsor for every single NHL team, but like especially with the Blues, the simple letters or the simple whatever on most jerseys, like it looks clean, like it kind of goes with the jersey. Like for the Blues, like I don't remember if it's this year or last year. Like we had Enterprise sponsor the helmets, so having a green E on on a white or a blue helmet with a white or a blue jersey does not look right. Like if
Yeah,
you
that's
switch
pretty
the
the
like
thing
if
I
you
was
switch the
gonna say.
color from the green to a white or a blue or like even a red or a yellow like for the retro jerseys or whatever, like I could argue that that would be fine, but like just having a green logo with a white or a blue helmet, no, it's not right.
That's another thing I was gonna say. If you're gonna do a logo, do it to either match your colors or do it like black and white,
Yeah.
so it's not taking away from your colors.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
All right, we good on that one?
I'm good on
I
that
think
one.
so.
All right. This is a fun one, in my opinion. Should steroids be legal in pro sports? And if
No.
so, what sports? Is there any sports? No, Brian?
No, I say no. The only main reason for a professional athlete, in my opinion, is to show off your genetic potential. You use steroids, you're cheating. That's my opinion on the sense. You use steroids in any type of thing, you are cheating yourself. Not yourself, but you're cheating to be better than what you can be almost. If you're not good, then you're not good. Yes, there's a difference
Then
between
you suck.
passion. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if there's a difference
Yeah.
between passion about loving the sport, which is awesome, and then there's a difference between I'm going to enhance my body so I can get to that passion, but it's and I don't know, it's just like I don't think it should be allowed. I really
Yeah.
don't. Now bodybuilding, that's completely different. That I mean, shit, whatever.
Yeah.
They're freaks of nature, whatever. But even them, they have the genetics already. That's why they already look
Yeah.
like that with the enhancements. With any type of sports, is it really gonna make you play better? I mean, not really. It depends on I guess what type of steroids or whatever.
Yeah.
I just say no. I think no. No,
Yeah.
no, I don't think they should.
Drake?
I'm looking at this on a sport by sport basis. UFC, boxing, any MMA, any of that, no shot because
Absolutely not,
that is
yeah.
a
Absolutely not.
clear disadvantage. Basketball, hockey, football, contact sports, not as bad as MMA, contact sports. So I'm like, no, I don't. But there's one sport, and that's baseball.
Baseball.
Because
Oh my lord.
like, okay, the only time there's like physical acts against players on other teams is when there are fights that aren't supposed to happen. Like you have you have physicality in basketball because you're like just on a small court going up against a bunch of dudes. Like there's physicality happening there. Hockey, there are fights in hockey. Football, you're literally trying to concuss the other person across from you every single play.
Yep.
And then obviously boxing, MMA, UFC, all that. Like so but baseball, like Barry
There's
Bonds,
nothing.
Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, like they made baseball fun for years.
Yep.
Like I agree with Brian in the sense that like you should not even consider touching the thing until you get to the big leagues because
Yeah.
Like Brian said, if you're not good enough, then what's the point?
What?
Yeah.
Why? Why are you there?
Like the second you get off that, you're gonna be back to where you were, and that's awful, and you'll never play again. But like, if you're
Yeah.
good enough to make it to the show, why not? Obviously,
Yeah.
it'll never happen, and probably for the best. But like, why not?
I kind of see that argument just because it's kind of like the bodybuilding thing. Like they already have the genetic potential. They're already freaks of nature, right? And
And
they're already
then
making it into the B leagues. They're like, man, maybe I can enhance myself a little bit more. I can see that argument, but
yeah,
I'm
and I
still like,
just thought of this too. Like, what about every non-contact Olympic sport, like track and field, swimming, things like
Let's
that?
see how far we can push it.
Yeah.
Oh no!
See the
Like,
absolute potential we got
I think
here.
I think my official stance is if there is no intentional, like if contact is not a part of the game, have at it. If there's like opponents that have to have contact, like golf. I don't know what good steroids in golf would be,
hit
but
drives
like,
500 yards.
why not turn par fives into par twos? Like, let's go. Then make full swing a lot more interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I brought this question up because of my baseball thoughts. I think you shouldn't be allowed to take steroids until you're in the MLB. But once you're in the MLB, it should be mandatory. You should
Oh my
you should have to
God.
piss a certain amount every month,
Oh my
and it should
God.
be at a minimum.
Okay.
I want to see these freaks of nature just out here hitting 700-yard home runs, 700-foot home runs.
Why not?
doing
700
crazy
yard home
stuff.
runs. Why not? Make it happen.
That
I
would be
mean,
ridiculous.
dude, it would be
I
fun
think it'd be
to
hilarious.
watch, but I'm like, jeez.
There should be like an XFL to the NFL type of spinoff in the MLB, or they do an experiment like the AA where everybody's
Yeah.
juiced
Just juice to the gills. Yeah.
and they're all just
Brother.
hammering home runs
I
and
love
then
it.
charging the mound because they're all pissed off.
I'm for it. I mean, it'll
That would
get
be
more people
hilarious.
with the pitch clock now too.
People
It'll
would
get people
watch.
will watch.
I promise
will
people would
watch.
watch if they knew everyone was juicing.
Why not?
That would be hilarious. But the last one, I guess I have two more, but this could be the last. What professional league has the best playoffs?
Ooh.
Do y'all think?
It was without a shadow of a doubt the NHL when they just did 1 through 8 conference. But now that they have divisions in this new thing, I'm not sure if hockey's the answer anymore.
I'm gonna say the NBA.
I will say for sure that I think the NFL has the best championship game, but that's also because it's the only of the 4 current major sports that just has one deciding game. So everybody knows this is the game we're going to watch, and there will be a winner and a loser, and like it's not a serious thing. It couldn't maybe be 4, maybe be 7. So that's why the Super Bowl is, I think, so popular, because you know there's going to be a winner of that game. But it's probably last in terms of actual playoffs because it's not a series, you know. I like watching a game. It's like, oh, this one's going 7 games. Like, that's exciting. So I don't think the playoffs answer is football.
I'm just gonna say the NBA. I don't know why, but I've never been an NBA guy, and I mean, you guys know this, but
Yeah.
there's something about the NBA playoffs that just fucking excites me. You know, I'm like, it's just crazy.
I think the only reason I wouldn't say NBA is because most of the time, the first round is a wash. Whoever's the higher seed is going to win. And no more than 6 games. And then the second round is a little bit tighter, but then like the third and fourth rounders are like don't get me wrong, when they get to the final 4 or final 8 teams, like, yeah, you want to watch every game because they're competitive games.
Yeah.
But I think just because the first round is so predictable, I think I'm
It's
still
wacky
gonna
with the play-in tournament now, too.
True.
Because they're just trying to make it seem like everybody makes the playoffs.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to stick with hockey because even though I despise this new, your top 3 in your division makes it in, and then 2 wild card, and 2 and 3 in that division has to play in the first round. I don't like it because you always have like teams that should make it to the semifinal get bounced in the first round. But
So if you could take let's not talk about format. We're talking about pure hype of the games, entertainment, chaos, hockey for sure, right?
No question. There's not a
Yeah.
question in my mind.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
My other, this is my, if you want to count it, my favorite, March Madness.
That
Okay.
I was gonna
The
bring that up.
college
That's
basketball
that
bracket.
Yeah.
that's. I think that's probably the best one. Oops, I think.
But I
That's
guess that's
probably
not
the best
professional,
one.
so it doesn't. If we,
That's why I
just
said
in
NBA
general,
because I'm like
yeah, in general, March Madness. But professional, I think I would agree with
Yeah.
Drake. Like when it comes to hockey
Mhm.
or basketball, because it's
Yeah.
like a series.
Because you could argue the same thing with football. Like it's one and done. It's just there's no like
Yeah,
you can't really build rivalries from it, like things like that. But
yeah,
in the same vein, like March Madness is like so clear. It's unreal.
yeah. It's amazing.
All right, you got one more there, boss? Then we'll
Yeah,
wrap her
you
up.
want the last one?
Yeah, why not?
This one's kind of mellow. Do you? And I don't know how much you guys pay attention, but do you think the UFC is killing boxing or making it like when Mike Tyson was fighting, it was like, oh, boxing is crazy, but now
Mm-hmm.
UFC is kind of in the mix, and I think a lot of people are more like, especially everybody's trying to get uh, more attention, like more fast things happening. There's
hmm
punches, kicks, knees, elbows, all this crazy stuff. Do you think that's taken away from just the straight up punch of boxing?
No, not necessarily. Just because it's its own niche.
Yeah,
But
Um,
yeah,
that's my only argument. I think that's the only difference in my opinion.
yeah. I mean,
It's its
boxing
own
definitely
different
has like
niche.
its niche and its style of human that would enjoy watching it.
yeah,
I don't know if it. I mean, they're two different things, but they're so close that you could say they're the same thing because it's all just like MMA, like violence kind of thing. I think it.
hmm
I
yeah,
think you could compare it to like baseball and basketball in the sense where like one is so just like so fast paced and so like something's always happening, whereas like the other is way more tactical and maybe it's not as consistently fast, but like it has its moments and you like live to see those moments kind of
Yeah.
thing. So
yeah,
I think overall the UFC is taking more eyes away from boxing because more people are kind of I need to see the quick, fast paced like action. But
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily
yeah,
means that it's killing boxing. But yeah, more people are watching UFC for sure.
yeah.
I mean, we started off the show with Tommy Fury and Jake Paul. Like
This is
that
true.
they're
I was
they're
gonna bring that up,
yeah.
like the way like influencers and YouTubers and stuff like getting into boxing now, I think is helping bring it back more, so to speak. Because I mean, the last boxing match I could tell you before, I guess a KSI fight or a Jake Paul fight was probably Mayweather Pacquiao. Like
Yeah.
Wow.
true boxers
What
fighting
It's
each
no
other.
yeah,
way.
true. I was about to
Like,
say what about McGregor and Mayweather, but
yeah,
McGregor's
I'm talking about when
UFC,
it comes to
so
like
What about
boxing.
yeah,
I
like
yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah.
what about like Triple G versus Canelo? Like, are you?
Those are
Oh,
big
okay,
fights. Yeah,
that's
those are
fair.
big
That's fair. That's
fights.
fair.
I
I
was
did forget
like,
about
come
that
on,
one.
guys. Like,
That was a big. That's a fumble on my part. Yeah, that was a good
I was
fight too.
like, come on. I'm like, you can't disrespect the legends of going
Yeah, but
back and
to be
forth.
fair, like you had Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder go a couple of times, and then you had um, Triple G and Canelo, and you had Floyd Pacquiao. Like these are one fight. Like you tune into a UFC card, you recognize at least three or four of the fights
Yeah,
instantly. So like I think that's
Yeah,
definitely
I
helping
can kind of see
UFC
that.
because like if you tune into a boxing card, a pay per view, you only maybe know the main event if you're lucky. Like some people might just be getting it because I got to figure out what the hype is, kind of thing.
hmm
yeah,
So I think like definitely there are definitely good boxing matches, but they're
yeah,
just so few and far between, and there's so little of a pool to come from that it definitely died off up until like 5 or 6 years ago when all the
yeah,
these influencers and stuff started to come in.
yeah.
Without a doubt.
Good debate.
That's
Shit.
all
Yeah,
I
I
got.
like
Yeah.
him. I like him.
Shit.
Well,
That was intense. I
yes.
was getting flustered.
That one felt like real debate, not like just being mad at Brian the whole
Not
time.
yeah,
So
not just bullying Brian
Come
because he
on,
puts
guys.
ketchup
Come
on his
on.
pizza.
Which I'm
it's
about to go do
disgusting.
here in a
He
second.
flips it upside down. I don't even know.
Well, Papa John's has the new Parmesan underneath the crust thing now, so maybe it's something now.
Yeah, you ought to
I
sue him,
told you
Brian.
guys. I
That was
told you.
yours.
It was.
Yeah.
I
You gotta
told you guys it's
You gotta be
Yeah,
calling up Mr. John there.
Mr. Papa.
reference episode 1.
Yes.
We did it first.
Yeah.
Well,
If you know what we're talking about, check out episode 1.
Yes, check out the first
Yeah.
one. Well, I think like Don said, that brings this week's show to a close. So we will love you and leave you until next week. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button and tell all your friends. And we will catch y'all next week. So take care and peace.